What's up, Metal Summoners? It is so great to see you guys. As always, thank you for supporting live music, coming out and checking out the bands, everything that they got doing, the tours they got going on, and hanging out with us so we can have these great conversations that we do every week, sometimes multiple times a week. But we are all about being in the now. Welcome back to your Island of Misfit Toys. It's myself. It's Angel. We've got one of the last live right now on the Metal Summit. Parker, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening, man. Welcome to the Metal Summit, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man, for sure. And first and foremost, I mean, you got live music, just like I said, coming up in just a few short days up in Atlantic City. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we're playing the Armageddon Fest. It's like a music tattoo festival. We're playing Saturday. Our set time is from 5:40 to 6:20. So, anyone that's in the area, come check us out. It's gonna be fun.
Nice, man. Right on. You could set yourself up to have, like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a music video from the band Newfound Glory for their song "My Friends Over You," where the singer's actually getting like tattooed on stage while he's singing.
That's awesome. I haven't seen it, but I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah, man. You should set something up like that where you can just have like somebody up on stage just working on you guys while you're performing and just kind of bring all the music and tattoos together.
Yeah, we had joked about like one of us getting like a tattoo. I was joking around with the rest of the guys, like maybe I should get one on like my leg while I play or something,
Oh, there you go. Has anybody gotten the a one of the last tattoo yet?
Nah, not yet. No.
Not yet. No, right on, man. So talk a little bit about one of the last. How did you guys get started, and how's also 2025 been treating you guys so far?
2025 has been pretty good. Right now, we're just in the process of just mixing and mastering some more songs to release. We had some pretty good shows. We're like a 5-piece metal band from New York, based out of Brooklyn. 2 guitars, vocalist, drummer, bass player. So, good stuff.
No, man, absolutely, for sure. And one of the things that we love to talk to our guests about is like the influences of like home in the formation of bands, as well as like when it comes to like your writing and your performance. And what would you say has been one of like the biggest assets of like, that Brooklyn has brought to your guys' band?
Well, me personally, I grew up listening to a lot of like thrash stuff. Like some of our other members are really into like metalcore, just regular hard rock. We consider ourselves to be like a hybrid metal band, so it's like a bunch of different heavy genres combined into one to make something like unique and different. But yeah, something like that.
Nah, totally, man, absolutely. And how about yourself, man? How did you get into music?
Me? My parents listened to a lot of like classic bands, so growing up, that stuff definitely had like a heavy influence on me. And then over the, I picked up guitar and slowly got into like heavier and heavier genres. Started off playing like punk, then I got into metal, then I got into thrash and metalcore. So it was like a natural progression of like, discovering metal.
Nice, man. Right on, for sure. Shout out to the Mad Shad on YouTube, as well as Front Row Promotions on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and hanging out with us. Absolutely. What would you say were some of the bands that that were like some of your favorite bands, either growing up or even some of your favorite bands now?
So I guess growing up, I was very inspired by, like, I guess you could just ask the way now, the big four thrash, like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, all those guys. Now, yeah. I guess I'm into like more modern bands. Like I'm a big like Trivium, Killswitch fan.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. No, definitely. I actually just caught a couple months ago. me and my lady went over to Baltimore Soundstage because I live down in Maryland, and we caught Kerry King's first solo tour.
Oh, nice. How was that?
It was good, man. It was good. I'm a big Death Angel fan, and Mark from Death Angel
Yeah,
is singing, is fronting Kerry King's band. So like, and I was also a big fan of Hell Yeah when they were together.
I saw them live in New York, actually. Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, did you?
Really good. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I love Hell Yeah. And their bass player Kyle is Kerry's bass player in that band. It's a really cool, like, it's definitely like that super group feel. You know, it's Paul Bostaff, you know, from Slayer on drums and everything. So it's definitely cool. But that was a really good show, man. They were really pumping it in too. It was something like 17, 18 songs that night. So it was definitely a cool one for sure. Absolutely, man. Angel, let's kick it up to you, my friend.
Speaking of Anthrax, how was it opening up for Anthrax?
It was really good because I got to see them play afterwards. But yeah, it was like a lifetime, achievement in my eyes because I love those guys. A great band. So it was cool to to like pretty much play the same stage they got to play.
Yeah, because they're actually from New York as well. So was this like a show in the New York area, or where was the show?
So it was we were playing the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, and we pretty much went on right before they did. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was down in Virginia. I wish it was in New York. That would have been cool.
Yeah, because I mean that's where they're actually from, the same place that you guys are.
Yeah, the funny thing is I don't think any of them really live in New York anymore, I think.
But how's the music scene there now?
It's it's whatever you make of it, I guess. People try to form a community of like bands and a good solid scene, but New York is New York. There's a lot of people and a lot going on. So we try our best.
Hey, and a lot of people travel there as well.
That is true. Yeah, a lot of people coming in. A lot of people always looking for something to do.
Yeah, I know. If you guys ever try to play, like in the Boston area, we know somebody that book shows there. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Why not? It'll be fun. Trip down to Boston.
So the band put out a new single. What's interesting is that it's getting a lot of traction. So what can fans expect? Is that something of more to come from the band, or are you guys going to go heavier?
Yeah, I mean, I expect a good mix of like heaviness and like melodic melodies, guitar solos, heavy vocals, all that stuff. We try to be as melodic, as we can without overdoing it. But yeah, I pretty much expect just good melodies, good guitar solos, good everything all around.
Dude, your drummer has the same T-shirt that I have in that video. A Metallica T-shirt. I was like, I got that same T-shirt.
Yeah, we're all big Metallica fans.
So what's the method to the so how does the band do with the songwriting? Is it like a collaborative thing, or somebody will come up?
Yeah, we all contribute ideas. Sometimes it'll be like me and like the other guitarists will have like a demo. We'll send it to the rest of the guys. They'll give their input, help with like structuring and vocals. Everyone will contribute their own parts, but it's pretty much like a group experience. That's the best way to to do it. So everyone contributes and has their opinions on on everything. That's what makes it like a hybrid, because we all have like pull from different styles and everything, so it makes it unique.
And just curious to ask, do you guys ever like road test new songs? Like, do you guys play new songs for the audience just to see what the reaction is to the new song?
Always, yeah, we love doing that, just to test the waters and see how people like it. Most of the time, we know people are usually going to enjoy it, but just to see like what people's initial reactions are is always good to show them something new.
Have you ever had a song that was not getting the reaction? Like,
Thankfully, no. Thankfully, we've never really gone through that where we played a song and we could just tell people like, oh, they're not really into it. Thankfully, we haven't really gone through anything like that. Like people are picky on what they like and there's subgenres of metal and everything, but most of the time we get pretty good reactions.
so with the upcoming release, will this be like an EP or a full-length album?
Yeah, so we're releasing every song as a single, and then at the end we're going to release it as a whole EP. With, 5 songs.
Okay. So you're just gonna release like one song at a time and then just put out the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get something, get people something to listen to, until everything is mixed and mastered, then we release it as a whole package.
I think this could be the new thing because this is the second time that I hear about a band doing that, which is kind of good because you're kind of giving each song attention. Like the reason why some bands like a Motley Crue or Aerosmith don't want to put out a record is a lot of the songs just get lost. So I think that's like a cool way to make sure each song gets the attention.
Yeah, it's good to give because sometimes you could release a whole EP or album and people's attention spans are different nowadays, so they could listen to it and then just forget about it. It's good to like release songs individually, keep their attention, keep them coming back.
Yeah, but this was my impression when I heard the song. I want more, damn it! That's just my
That's good. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good reaction.
But again,
I'm the same way when I listen to a song I like. I just need more of that. Yeah.
So when it comes to you guys, like your website, can we expect to see merch as it gets closer to you guys putting out the EP? Or
Yeah. We have new merch being made, right now. So that is definitely something people can expect on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you guys got the link tree. I still don't know how to do that.
I don't blame you.
It kind of connects you to everything.
Yeah.
I have a TikTok question for you because I'm just curious because I don't have TikTok. Jay does, but not me. How has TikTok helped the band?
Well, we try to use TikTok to reach, as many people as we can. We know a lot of people use it. So we try to come up with content that we think people will want to see incorporated with our music. But it helps out. It gets eyes on us. So it's something, because everyone nowadays uses TikTok for everything. It's easy to take a song and compress it into like 20 seconds of something catchy for people to watch. So we try to like be a little bit more creative with it, making like shorts, doing covers, stuff like that.
I got a very good question for you, and it's coming from Brian.
Okay.
Hold on, me show on stage. What song did you hear and loved, but now you can't stand? I'll make that a roundtable one because I'm curious about Jay's answer.
That would be a difficult thing for me to like answer off the top of my head because I know there are definitely songs that I've listened to where I've liked it at first and just gotten sick of it. I tend to listen to overplay a song once I like it and eventually get sick. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but so I can't really give a straight answer on that. I wish I could.
I'm going to give you my answer right now, and I hope I don't get hate for this because it's a song about fatherhood. Creed with Arms Wide Open. If I hear that fucking song again, I'm going to die. At first, it was a cool song. I get it. You're going to be a father.
That's the one where the video where he thought he was Jesus or something, right?
But now I'm like, I don't want to hear
it.
This is why I don't go to a Creed concert because I know they're going to play it.
Yeah. That's definitely one of those songs that is.
Yeah, for me, like, there's I mean, there's a handful of songs. Like, I still like them as songs, but they're songs that I can just kind of like, I don't need him. Like, I love Queensryche, but I don't ever need to hear Silent Lucidity again for the rest of my life. Like,
Me neither.
And even with a band that I absolutely, love, like Guns N' Roses. I mean, who doesn't love Guns N' Roses? But I mean, I don't feel the need to have to hear like Paradise City or like Welcome to the Jungle again. Like, don't get me wrong, it works at times for sure. I've been fortunate to see Guns N' Roses a few times live. They're great. It's one thing in the moment to hear those songs, and it's great. And Angel, us and our relationship with Adler and stuff like that. So like, watching, a guy like Steven Adler, the original drummer, play with Ari on lead vocals is absolutely fantastic. So like, yeah, there's a certain amount of enjoyment I do get even out of those songs, seeing them performed in like a live setting. But when it comes to like, having them come up on the radio and stuff like that, it's kind of like, hey, nothing against these songs, but I honestly just don't need to hear them anymore, so it's probably more stuff like that. There's still songs that I enjoy and I can appreciate, but there's probably a decent amount of chance that I'm gonna skip by them if they come up on my iTunes or something like that. It's be like, yeah, there'll be a time for me to let this play at some point, but that's not going to be today. What's on next on shuffle and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I was listening to the radio the other day, and like Nirvana, "Smells Like Teen Spirit" came on. I was like, I can't really listen to the song anymore. It's a good song, but I heard it way too many times, and it's kind of just like, it's good like background music at this point, but definitely heard it a lot throughout my life.
That's a good answer for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, I agree with you. I'm gonna need a bottle of Jack Daniels.
What just the whole catalog of White Stripes, Brian? Is that
good answer? Don't worry, Brian. I agree with you.
Insemination Army song. That's amazing.
What's on your bucket list? That's another good round table one.
A bucket list? I don't know, play like a stadium, like an arena tour or something. Do something crazy like that.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with saying that. When you're a young band, it's okay to say I want to play arenas and stadiums because you're striving for something. That's your goal.
A goal.
If you never say it, it's not going to happen.
That is true, yeah.
Hey, Jay, what's on your
existence?
What's on mine? I mean, for this show, I want us to get Nikki Sixx. That's what I want. That's what I want for this show. Like, I would really, really like that one for sure. I'd also like, I mean, if I'm talking interviews related to TMS, I want Nikki Sixx, I want Rob Zombie, and I want Marilyn Manson. Those and I also feel like they're attainable. I really do, especially with the resurgence of Manson. I mean, his new album is fucking brilliant. Like, I really love it. It's so good. And I've always been a fan of his bass player, Matt, from when Matt was in Wednesday 13, when he was in Rob Zombie. Like, so seeing him playing with Manson now, I think is super duper awesome. But I just, even if we don't even talk music, I would just love to be able to talk to Rob Zombie and just talk about horror movies. Like, that's all I would need in my life, is just let me sit down with a cup of coffee with Rob Zombie and talk horror movies. Dude, I could literally just walk out into the street with a truck, just dead, done, good, satisfied. But yeah, that's probably my bucket list stuff when it comes to like TMS. For me personally, and this kind of ties in with the show, and you and Angel, you and I are kind of attached at the hip when it comes to this stuff. It's like, I want to host a festival. Like, I want to be like the you know, the MC, the personality of like a real festival. You know, like you and I have been able to be on stage and intro and host some incredibly great stuff. And when our buddy and when Psycho Steve and I did it for Masquerade, that festival feeling, it was so intoxicating, and I really loved it. And I still to this day appreciate Brad for allowing us to do that. But you know, I would also love to really be able to turn it up to like for like an M3 or Chicago open air or like Rocklahoma. I think that would be super cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, it'd be like a party.
God.
Yeah. How about you, bro?
Well, I definitely kicked the bucket when we were hosting Kick It Valentina at the Whiskey.
At the Whiskey, yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to go there? On my bucket list, I definitely want to go out on tour with a band for like a week just to kind of get that experience of what that's like.
Yeah.
I definitely would love to get Vince Neil, and I definitely would love to go to the theater where they shot Without You, just for the sake of saying that I was there.
Okay. I like that one for sure, man. Absolutely. Parker, when it comes to how you guys as a band like are, you know, planning to put out your music. So you talked about giving every single its due and then putting it out as an EP. Do you still fancy yourselves as a like as an albums band, like album/EP? Like there's so much value, especially nowadays, in keeping the band fresh, keeping new music in people's ears so that they always know that you guys are up to something. But do you guys still feel that like when it comes to your music as a whole, like the ability to like tell a story in an album and an EP is valuable to you guys, or does it kind of vary on how you guys put out music at any given time?
I mean, yeah, like we still value that way of releasing music. It's like the thing is like if you have the audience that you know, like in which you can just release an entire album and have people talk about it and listen to it for months on end, that's great. Not everyone can do that. So it's more of like a mixture of us trying to like keep people listening to us, but at the same, you know, like yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, if we could do that, we you know like we would. That's why we still plan on releasing everything together as a complete package once all the songs are done. You know, but yeah, that's something we definitely still value.
Absolutely, for sure. What was the first metal T-shirt you remember wearing?
The first metal T-shirt, I think maybe like a Guns N' Roses shirt. My parents are really big Guns N' Roses fans.
Nice. That's awesome. For sure. Are you like a Slash influenced like player? Is that kind of like one of your personal influences when it comes to guitar?
Yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of like his stuff, a lot of his solos. I used to try to emulate a lot of what he did in the early days when I was like, still learning. But yeah, he's great.
Nice.
He's definitely one of the best.
What's up?
He's definitely one of the best. He's
oh yeah. 100% for sure. Give us a little bit of a rig rundown, man. What do you play, and what do people see when you're on stage?
So amp wise, I use a Randall, the Diablo series. Guitars, my favorite brands are Ibanez, ESP.
All right on. Nice. Are you with anybody in particular? Do you have any type of endorsement deals currently for strings or anything?
No, not yet. No.
Give it time.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, for sure. So you've got the show coming up right now in Atlantic City this weekend. What can you tell us based on what you're allowed to talk about? What do you currently have planned with the band for the rest of 2025?
So right now we have let's see, we just plan to finish releasing the rest of the songs we have recorded already, mixed and mastered. Get those out. We are going to keep playing shows. Usual stuff. Keep playing shows, keep releasing music, start recording some new stuff to get that out there. And for Saturday, is all I can really say is we have a 40-minute set, so it's gonna be a lot of good songs.
Absolutely, for sure. Do you have a name for the EP planned?
Not that I could say.
I should say chosen, but not that you can say yet. Right on, man. Nope. Absolutely. Nope. Totally understand for sure. right back to Angel.
At one point, do you know that the song is done? And have you ever completed a song and you went back and wish you could have changed something?
Yeah. Like we're sitting on a song for a while where we have the time to like listen and figure out everything that we could have maybe done differently. Because it's not like that with every song, but some songs of after a while we're like, all right, maybe we could have played it this way, or maybe we could add instead of changing something, maybe we could add something to give it a little bit of a different feel. Yeah, like we tend to do that sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Okay, I got a couple more questions. One word that describes you as a musician.
One word, just one. Uh, dedicated.
That's a good one.
I'm very,
Yeah.
very serious about like what I do, how I play, what riffs I write, how the songs sound. You know, somewhat of a perfectionist, but nothing can be perfect. But I try.
Hey, it's rock and roll, and it doesn't have to be. So,
Still gotta have fun doing it. Right?
Oh yeah.
yep. How long has the band been together?
Since let's see, about 2017.
Nice.
Yeah, so we got some years together.
And let's see, one more question. When did your musical journey begin?
So for me personally,
Yeah.
well, I started playing guitar when I was, what was I, like 11. Started taking lessons when I was like 12. Took private lessons for a little bit, and yeah, I started at a young age. I originally wanted to play drums, but I gravitated towards guitar, and I'm glad I'm glad I did that.
Less to
Easier
carry.
to, yeah, it's easier to for when you're young for your parents to get you a guitar if you live in like an apartment building in New York. Make a little bit less noise than a drum set.
Brian wants to know the Beatles or Elvis.
That's an interesting question because you would think that would be an easy question, but it's actually not. At least for me. I mean, I'm more familiar with the Beatles catalog, but when it came to just style and vibe and everything, Elvis definitely was that guy. The Beatles definitely they tend to like change their style of songs and music over the course of their careers. Just to be different, I'm gonna say Elvis. Why not?
Nice. I like that. I feel like we do tend to get a little bit more Beatles answers to that question.
Yeah, like they're great, but like it's so like I want to say typical of people to just say the Beatles because everyone has heard a Beatles song. Everybody,
Yeah.
everyone has heard an Elvis song. At least not nowadays.
Oh, Brian, that's mean. Brian says we can't be friends.
He's a Beatles fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Well,
good. They're good. But, yeah.
The thing with me is like with that question, like my answer to that is Beatles, but I mean I love Elvis. I can't help but falling in love with you. I think is one of the greatest songs ever done. And I'm also a really, really big Glenn Danzig fan, and he's a big Elvis guy.
Yeah.
So like I have a lot of love for Elvis with the stuff that he did, and he's influenced like people and person that are very like important to me and my musical taste and style. So like I definitely have love for that. But yeah, no, my mom brought me up on a lot of Beatles, and I'm a really big Queen guy.
Queen is great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both like night and day, like the Beatles and Elvis. Like
Yeah.
the Beatles, they wrote their songs. Elvis really did not write the songs. Elvis was more of an entertainer, and the Beatles were,
More of a
yeah,
show.
they were like idol types, but musical geniuses. They wrote their own songs.
Yeah. I mean, you're also we're with that question too. It's different. It's going to be different strokes for different folks as well too, because you're putting a band up against a solo guy.
Yeah.
You know, like a band up against a individual performer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, Brian, now we can't be friends. He says I love Danzig, but he sang Elvis songs worse than Elvis. No, it's all good, Brian. I'm just fucking with you, bro. That's my homie. Like, yeah, it's I appreciate the Danzig Sings Elvis record. I really do, because I know how much Elvis influenced, Danzig, but I wouldn't exactly say that's Danzig's best album by any means. And just because, go ahead, Angel.
Now I was going to say, just for the sake of time, I'm going to do another roundtable discussion.
All right.
All right, because I read this article about the future of rock music, and some bonehead was saying that Avatar is going to be like the thing. So, in your opinion, where do you see rock music going?
What do you mean by when he said Avatar?
Yeah, it's like Kiss. They're doing like an Avatar thing.
What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were talking about the actual band Avatar from Sweden.
They have a band called Avatar?
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Fuck out of here, really?
But like, what do you mean when you say they have like avatars? Like, I think I know what you mean, but if we're thinking the same thing,
what do you think? What do you think the future of rock music will be like?
That's really, I mean, you got to listen to like all of like the new musicians and bands coming up to really see what that's going to be like. With social media and TikTok, everything's becoming a little bit more streamlined and more accessible for, I guess, different types of people. But I don't know, honestly. It could go anywhere. Depends on the industry and what the industry is doing.
I don't know what it is, but it seems like people are just afraid to listen to new rock music. And I'm going to give you an example. Like, people will go see a cover band. Nothing against them, but the original bands are the ones that are going to be keeping rock music alive.
Yeah, and people complain about like ticket prices and stuff, which I completely understand. If you really like a band, you find some type of way to see them live. I would always encourage people to see the actual band over like a cover, unless it's like a bar down the street and you can just go there, easy night, But yeah.
I think one of there's two things that I personally kind of like see, and when it comes to like rock and metal music moving forward, that I think is the most important thing. One is simply the ability to give up and coming bands a chance. And I've addressed this at nauseum on this show, but I'm going to address it again. When I went and saw Kiss on their farewell tour, they had a band open up for them in Baltimore called Amber Wild. They were fantastic, young band. I saw the show that they played in Baltimore. I believe it was in like November. The Amber Wild had only been around since like January. They looked great. They sounded great. They played their instruments fantastic. But for anybody who's not familiar with the band, Amber Wild is also Paul Stanley's kids' band.
Oh, okay.
So, and I've seen Evan Stanley with his other bands. He had a band called The Dives that were great. And like I said, the singing, the stage presence, all of them in their dress and their style of playing, it's all really great. And it was solid and it was proper. But at the same time, it's a little hard to get kind of rah-rah about the opportunity of a young band getting to play in front of so many people to possibly be, the next, torchbearer or whatever, when, it's the headliner's kid. And it sounds like I'm being mean, and it's really not meant to be mean. It's just kind of the way that it is. The other thing too I think that rock and metal music and the big bands, I do think they have a tendency to be their own worst gatekeepers. I think that band, and there's all this talk about, well, if you want to open up for this band, they have to pay this amount of money to go out on the tour. Why not just take them out on the tour, because they, could be the future of the genre. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't expect a band of a certain caliber to take out another band that only has like maybe 300 followers. I understand the value of putting in the work and building up some kind of following. I really do. I get it. But I don't think you should make these up and coming bands have to pay, 10 grand to come out and do the tour with you and stuff like that. They've got enough, they got enough problems of their own, making sure that they've got like enough merch, that they can take care of gas, that they have the ability to go the full length of the tour. So that's just kind of the one thing there. The other thing that I'd like to see bands do a little bit more of is kind of intersplicing genres a little bit on bigger tour packages. Not go super duper like out of whack with things, like not having a band like Black Veil Brides out with like Sublime. I'm not talking about something like that, but something that is in the ballpark of similarity, but is very, very, but still has its differences. And speaking of the Black Veil Brides, is they have a tour they're about to do where it's Black Veil Brides, Ginger, Bloodywood, and Baby Metal. And I was like, it doesn't really get much different than that, because you've got Ginger, who's like a female-fronted kind of new metal style band. Black Veil Brides, which I've always described as basically what you would get if Motley Crue and Kiss made a baby. Yeah. Bloodywood is, this, Indian influence like metal band, and I've seen them live. They're fantastic. And then obviously Baby Metal's Baby Metal. It's, Japanese, slightly pop metal with that like schoolgirl flair to it. But the point is, they're all like different tiers with kind of their own little thing. But it's a really unique like tour package where like the Black Veil Brides fans might not know anything about Bloodywood, and now they're getting influenced by this kind of like, Indian style metal. Same thing with like, like my girl is a big Baby Metal fan. Me, not so much. They're just not really my jam. Like, I'm trying to give them a fighting chance, but they're just not stylistically my cup of tea. I'm a huge Black Veil Brides fan. I'll die on the hill for that band. I think they're fantastic. My buddy Ron, who Angel knows, who with his company Empire Extreme have worked with us plenty of times. He's a big Ginger fan. He thinks that band is just absolutely bitching. And again, I've seen them live. I think they're cool. They're kind of growing on me, but they still have a little ways to go. But anyway, those are kind of my two things, as I really would like to see bands of a certain caliber do a little bit more in bringing up and out bands that have put in the groundwork, that can hold their own and perform well as tour packages that aren't overly similar, that have a little bit of uniqueness to them, to really try to bring more attention to what else is out there.
Yeah, and that's that's partly what makes a good show, is having like, variety, giving people more of a reason to come and check out things they haven't seen before, and it can work out for everyone, gain new fans, and also people discovering new music is always a good thing. People out there, metalheads, are always looking for new bands to listen to,
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that, Parker, for sure. Barb, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. That's a great statement as well. I caught Vended before, really before the bubble had popped. So like, if you were familiar, you knew that was Clown and Corey's kids from Slipknot. But when I got to see them was at like a smaller club, and the bubble hadn't really popped on that band yet. People were still kind of feeling them out. Yeah, and didn't really. Yeah, they have a band together called Vended, and they're absolutely fantastic. And yeah, and now they're doing much bigger festival tours. And don't get me wrong, look, I don't know, I can't confirm or deny that their parents, can assist in some of these festivals. But considering that I did see them in a much smaller club and saw them perform in a much more intimate setting, and they still completely brought it. Hey man, I'm all for Vended going onwards and upwards. I think those kids are fantastic.
I'm gonna check them out more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. It's a fun Brian question. Go ahead, Angel.
You want me to say that with a straight face?
Okay, fine. I'll say it with a straight face. So you can sacrifice Yoko Ono to bring back Lennon, Phil to bring back Dime, or Lars to bring back Cliff. Who's coming back? I'll even start. It's going to be Yoko Ono to bring back Lennon. Lennon, who I want in that. There's a little bit of biasness that I have in that. One, I don't personally have that big of a problem with Lars. I do wish that Cliff was still with us, but I am a big Jason Newsted fan. So it just kind of is what it is. So I
awesome, but
yeah. So I can't go the Lars direction.
Yoko
as much as I really wish that I could bring back Dime, Phil and I know each other, and Phil has always been great to me. So I can't sacrifice my friend. Don't get me wrong. We're not like we're not super buddies like that. We don't really talk on the regular, but whenever Phil comes to town, whether it's like Scour or any of his other bands and stuff like that, he and I always kind of try to take a couple of minutes, a little bit of time to just say what's up, hug it out, and then just, do our thing and whatnot. So for me, it's absolutely, yeah, I don't know Yoko Ono from a hole in my head. So fuck her. Give me Lennon.
Yeah, I would definitely say the same thing. Yoko, sorry, Yoko.
When my nephews don't get good grades, you know what I do? I make them listen to Yoko Ono.
I know this stuff is not no offense to her, but it's not easy on the ears,
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. First time I heard a Yoko song, I thought it was a joke or something.
Yeah.
I thought I was dying. Back to you, Jay.
No worries, man. Absolutely. So Metal Summoners, you guys are awesome as always. We're going to keep rocking out with Parker for a little bit longer, but it is going to be last call for alcohol, guys. Any final questions, comments, anything that you want to get in, that you want to ask him about what's going on with him, his influences, or what's going on with one of the last? Now is going to be your time to pop in those questions, man, because we'll always clear the board. We'll always make sure that your questions get answered, but this is the time to get it done. So with you guys actually, up to 8 years now, putting in the better part of a decade, how do you look at one of the last now as opposed to when you guys got started?
Well, as a band, we definitely figured out what type of songs we want to write in our influences. That's why we have the whole hybrid metal brand with us. I mean, just pretty much just trying to figure out ways to come up with good songs and be different and stay different and not sound like every other band out there.
Sure.
Not get thrown into the same old categories of heavy metal. We just we try to be different and try to stand out as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And over the years, that's definitely gotten easier.
Oh, definitely. When you guys were forming and having the conversation about how you wanted the band to sound and the style that you guys wanted to put forth, what do you remember about those conversations? Were you guys all kind of in the ballpark of musical influences already? Of course, as the saying goes, styles make fights. And your guys' collective different influence is always going to shape the band. But what do you remember about those conversations about kind of how your vision of the band wanted to be?
So when we first formed this band, me and the other guitarist, Mario, we had already played in a band before. So me and him were already used to working together. So me and him, we already knew the type of songs we wanted to write. And then when we got our singer John and then Dan, they were very easy to fit into like our style of music. We all pretty much agreed on the type of songs we wanted to write. Make sure they're melodic, make sure they're like somewhat catchy so people could like them. We never really had disagreements or like any type of like squabbles over how a song should sound. Might have a little bit discussions on like, oh, move, do this here and do that there, but we've all pretty much been on the same page, thankfully.
Oh,
Makes the
very
whole process. But like me working with Mario in a previous band made the whole thing kind of easy because we both play the same instrument. So
absolutely, for sure. How did you guys settle on the name One of the Last?
So our original bass player for the band actually helped come up with the name because we were trying to think of a name and we were like, all right, we want to have like a one-word name to make it like iconic, like the older bands we listened from the '80s. So we came up with One of the Last as like basically supposed to mean that we are like one of the last great heavy bands out there,
Yeah.
playing that whole game. So we figured that'd be cool. It looked good, it looks good on a t-shirt.
No, absolutely. I mean, I also like the way that you guys designed your logo. I think the font is really solid and eye-catching. I love the fact that you guys have the one in the logo,
Yeah.
which I think is really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, things look good on t-shirts. It's funny. I joke about I joke about this all the time, but it's also kind of the truth. Like, so over the 5 years of this show, we originally called the M3 Summit because it originated as a 80s style talk show and interview show based on the M3 Festival, which is a big 80s glam rock festival that they do in Maryland every year. That was the original plan. But then we started, our first episode was the first Wednesday in March of 2020. So 3 weeks later, everybody was out of a job and, all the bands were at home. So we had originally planned to go after previous and the current bands that were going to play the M3 Festival. And that got, postponed for a couple of years. And so we all just started using our collective contacts to bring in anybody that we were friends with the interview. So after a while, we started, we realized that we had to have a conversation about rebranding, and we decided on the current name of the show, and we continued on with that. And we're currently on our third version of our logo. And the funny thing is I was fucking around with like some heavy metal font because as much as I love to make fun of black metal fonts because they all look like sticks, just a pile of sticks. I love the black metal style of things. So I was goofing around with the words "The Metal Summit" in like black metal fonts, and I kept coming across a couple that I thought were cool. And I remember putting one up as a banner on our Facebook page, and it was getting some attention, and people were kind of digging on it. And that was fine. It was actually one of our former co-hosts who had said, "Hey, dude, that's actually pretty cool. But if we're gonna like redesign and kind of rebrand and relogo, we should change like everything." And I'm like, well, hold on. Like, look, this isn't the Jay Show. I was just kind of dicking around. I was listening to a lot of Cradle of Filth that week because I'm a huge Cradle of Filth nerd anyway. But I was listening to a lot of Cradle of Filth that week. And I was like, that's what made me start messing with the font. And I was like, but if you want a new look, if you want something a little different, I'd be more than happy to play around with some stuff. He's like, yeah, do what you think would look cool. And I even told the guys, I was like, hey, I'm down for this, but just so you guys know, if you're going to leave this logo thing to the very clearly goth guy on the show, the logo might get a little darker. But everybody was super supportive. Everybody was super cool. But long story short, the reason I bring that up is I don't really see us changing our current logo for a while. It looks so good on merch. That icicle-y looking pentagram that we have with the, I was like, that thing just looks great on everything. So it's like, this thing might be sticking around for a little while. I mean, we have friends of the show like Brian, who's been chiming in all night. He did a great version of the words. The Metal Summit is the Lost Boys logo, and I love that. And me and Angel's friend Lisa, she's done little versions of our logo with different backgrounds and stuff like that. Same as Shad, who's watching tonight as well. So little things like that, just keep it fresh and whatnot. But I was like, yeah, the icicle pentagram thing, that thing just looks sick on merch. So there definitely is something to be said for something that looks good on a t-shirt there, bro.
Definitely, yeah. Get people's attention. Someone notices that and is like, I like that. Hell yeah.
Are you and your band like Tagger? Are you big fans of like stickers in places and?
Kind of a little bit. Like, I mean, like whenever we did have like stickers, we would just leave them up any place we played. Yeah, leave our mark there. Oh yeah.
No, man, absolutely, for sure. And Angel, let me kick it back up to you, my friend, as we take one more spin around the table, and then we'll let Parker put his feet up for the evening.
Yeah, I wish I had come up with this question, but Brian did. So, describe how your riffs influence the lyrics and how the lyrics influence your riffs. I'm gonna write down that question.
Screenshot.
Let me see. Well, I know me personally, I would tend to write a lot of like thrashy riffs that would turn into like a thrashy verse. So our singer would usually, he's very good at the harsh vocals, at the screaming. So it would kind of like give him, like some inspiration for saying something, just the heavy screams and the heavy vocals. He's very good at, lyrically coming up with catchy choruses. So it helps us try to come up with something that's like explosive, catchy at the same time, and also melodic, But yeah, it's kind of more, we when it comes to songwriting, it's kind of like a seamless thing where we kind of already know how we're gonna do it, so everything blends together pretty smoothly. So it's not too complicated, the process. But usually the guitar work for the most part is done first, so we have more of an influence on, I guess, what he does vocally, like with the melodies. The lyrics, that's probably a question for him.
And damn it, I know I had one last question. What can fans expect on Saturday?
Some heavy songs, crazy performance. We usually go hard with every performance we play. Lots of movement, lots of crowd interaction. Try to make it fun, and give people something to remember. You want them to leave being like, oh, these guys are great. We want to see them again.
And where can everybody find you?
On socials, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Spotify, YouTube. All the usual places.
Awesome. Jay, back to you.
Keep me walking around in New York.
No, absolutely, man. Well, Parker, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We really, really appreciate your time this evening, man. You were such a cool dude to talk to, man. And the thing that's always the most important to myself and Angel is that you enjoyed yourself. You had a good time. You felt respected, liked the questions that were asked. And most importantly, you felt that this show in any way could and will be beneficial to you and, the continued success of One of the Last.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good for us. It's good for just metal in general. It's always good to have, a place for people to talk about stuff they like, music,
Absolutely,
awesome.
man.
Thanks for having me.
Great, man, for sure. Well, reach out to us anytime if there's anything that we can do to help, like promote or push a single or push a show. Don't be afraid to send us a message, man, and let us know. It's because we appreciate you, we appreciate your time, and the band rocks, man, and we can we can only wish you, like I said, continued success and have an absolutely killer show on Saturday, man.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely. For sure. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. As always, thank you so much for supporting the band, supporting live music, and getting out to shows. Parker let you know where they could be found, but make sure that you guys are checking out One of the Last on all of their socials. If you guys can make it out on Saturday night to the festival, definitely get out there and support. We appreciate you supporting this show and always showing us so much love. You can follow Angel at Angel Alamo78 on Instagram, and you can also find him on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Salem.Vampire, and you can also find me on Facebook Facebook as well under Salem Vampire as well. And also, of course, our beloved Psycho Steve that works behind the scenes. You can find him at The Real Psycho Steve on Instagram, as well as PsychoStevePresents.com. Of course, guys, as always, please make sure that you're following the Metal Summit on Facebook and YouTube. That's where you're watching the interview right now. That's how you're learning about One of the Last. And please make sure that you're also following the Metal Summit on Instagram, because all of our guest announcements come out on Instagram first. We are really looking forward to continuing on and having another great series of shows with you guys. And we really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. But we are going to see you guys in about 12 hours now, as we welcome Chris Slade from AC/DC tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. We're going to have a really great follow-up episode with him. But we really appreciate you guys, like I said, showing so much love and so much awesomeness to One of the Last tonight. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys in a few hours for the next episode. And you guys have yourselves a great rest of your evening. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.